This video is sponsored by TitTum. That is the brand new Mini Countryman, and I can't believe what I'm about to do with it because this is the UK. I have this car for a week, and the challenge I have is that this isn't a car reviews channel, but BMW have been kind enough to give me this car to test out, so here it is. And I was thinking about what to do with this Countryman, and it seemed obvious, blindingly obvious, that I should take it camping. So this video is going to be a bit different, but it's going to comprise two parts. I'm going to review this car and tell you if it's worth buying, and secondly, I'm going to show you the tech that I've brought with me to make this camping trip bearable. This is the range-topping John Cooper Works version, or JCW. That's easier. It's got a 2-litre turbocharged engine that puts out just under 300 brake horsepower and around about 400 newton meters of torque. It does 0 to 62 miles an hour in 5.4 seconds, and you can expect around 35 miles to the gallon. And yes, all 4 signifies that this is a 4-wheel drive car. The standard kit list you get on this car is quite impressive, and it's a lot more than you got on the previous Countryman. It's a really big list, so you get a 54-litre large capacity fuel tank, adaptive suspension, a heated steering wheel, which is just a dream, DTC auto transmission, comfort access, which is when you walk up to the car and it unlocks for you, roof rails, which you need on this sort of car, folding wing mirrors, heated leatherette sport seats, ambient lighting, a Harman Kardon sound system, which is absolutely superb, 2-zone climate control, and 20-inch John Cooper Works wheels. There's $6,000 worth of extras on this one because it's a press car. So it's got the performance brakes, which look very nice and have the holes drilled through them. They look like they mean business, and I bet they cost a fortune to replace. This lovely panoramic sunroof, sun protection glass, which is reassuring today, an active driver seat, which, when you put your seatbelt on, it moves forward, and then when you take it off, it moves backwards, which I guess is for comfort and convenience. We also have an interior camera somewhere. It's raining, brilliant. Driving Assistant Professional, which I'll show you later on. A Parking Assistant Plus feature, a personal eSIM, and Mini Navigation AR, which is very cool, and which again, I'll show you later. The standard price for the JCW Mini Countryman is £41,000 in the UK. This one, with those options, is around about 45 grand. Erected. Now, there are a few bits left over, but there's always stuff left over whenever you make anything, and I'm fairly sure this bit, in fact I won't show you that bit. Anyway, what you want to know about is the exterior of this Mini Countryman. As everyone knows who sees this, it is absolutely massive. In fact, it's the biggest Mini ever made by 6 centimetres in height and 13 centimetres in length. It's more sustainable as well, with no chrome, leatherette in the interior, and recycled materials throughout. But I quite like it. I think it looks mean, it looks ready for purpose. This isn't your normal cute Mini, although weirdly it is still a little bit cute. But the JCW version really does look the part. Those big brakes, those 4 tailpipes, the John Cooper Works stuff plastered all over it. For a petrol head, this is a, dare I say it, a proper Mini. Sorry, a proper Mini Countryman. You can also personalise the exterior lights, which is something I've never seen before on any car. This is very, very Mini. Okay, tech. So I've brought a few things with me to make this trip a bit more comfortable. The first thing is in here. It's my 14-inch MacBook Pro. When it comes to going from the 16-inch to the 14-inch, it's made such a difference for travels. I can use this tonight to do video editing in a campsite. I know I could do that with the 16-inch, but that was too heavy. So this has been a very good buy, but is it worth £4,500? No. Next up, we have the iPad Mini, which is my iPad of choice for everything, basically. I made a video about this recently. I'll put a link above so you can check that out. But basically, I don't think we're going to see an iPad Mini 7 until later this year. Regardless, this one is fantastic. It's in this MOFT case cum stand thing, which is brilliant. I'll put links to all of this stuff in the description. In terms of power, Anker. There's no other brand really that I think do it better. I've got this power bank, which has this lovely built-in USB-C cable. That's very useful. It also has a display, which you can just see there. So it tells you how long you've got left on the battery itself, and also when you plug it in to be charged, it tells you how long until it's fully charged. Next up, in terms of reading duties, the Kindle Paperwhite. I go backwards and forwards with Paperwhite. Paperwhites with Kindles, I don't know why. I either read this or proper books, but at the moment I'm on a bit of a Kindle thing and I'm really enjoying it. Then I have this lovely little organiser. This is the Grams 28 something. Again, I'll put a link down below. It's a bag, basically. A bag that you can put loads of tech stuff in. So if I open this up, I've got all my cables, and if you can see this, all the cables, all of my SSDs for this footage, etc. Putting it into this and zipping it up is just a joy. Then we have the phone, and yes, it is still the S24 Ultra. I've switched to this. I don't have the iPhone on me. It's at home. I think it might even be in the studio. I'm a convert. I really am. I've been converted to Samsung land. I'm now a Samsung person, and it's going to take me a lot to go back to the iPhone. That is my tech oh, hang on. Vision Pro. I've only got this on me because I went to Pete Matheson's studio on the way down here earlier today to do a little collab, which is coming soon. Make sure you hit the subscribe button not to miss that. Yeah, Vision Pro isn't really a camping tool. I don't think I'll be using that tonight. Anyway, with the light rapidly failing, I am going to try and get some sleep, and tomorrow we'll get back in that car and I'll show you some very interesting things about the Mini Countryman. Morning. Okay, it's time to pack up the tent, get back in that car and tell you more about the Mini Countryman. Before I do that, just a very quick word from today's sponsor, which is TitTum. And these TitTum headphones come with me everywhere because last night I was in there editing videos, which is a weird thing to do, but to do that I needed a decent pair of wired headphones, which is what these are. They're also an incredibly good pair of Bluetooth wireless noise cancelling headphones. It's very rare you find those two things combined. They've even got an emulation mode where you can effectively turn them into a pair of Sony XM5s. They've been a revelation for me. The sound quality is fantastic, and the noise cancelling, because they have dedicated noise cancelling drivers, it means the sound isn't impacted by noise cancellation, which isn't the case on pretty much any other pair of headphones. To find out more about TitTum, just click that link below. When it comes to the interior of this car, two things hit you straight away. The first thing is just how sparse it is. There's not much going on in here at all. We've got this kind of very long piece of fabric that stretches across the entire dash, possibly an acquired taste. A few people who have got into this car have looked at it straight away and gone, whoa, that's different. But then there's a lot about this car that makes people step back and say, whoa, that's different. But then it settles and you get used to it, and it's very well made. That's the other thing. This fabric it feels great. It feels a lot better than some of the plastics that you get on, well, on a lot of modern expensive cars. And the John Cooper Works version has these kind of red things on it as well, which look very sporty and nice. The other thing to bear in mind is that we still get the switches. We get the Mini switches, which if you've never driven a Mini before, trust me, they are so fun to use. They're so fun to flick and twist. On this one, I particularly like the engine start and stop. It's like a permanent key that's fixed into the dash, and it's just very tactile. The second thing that hits you straight between the eyes is this absolutely huge circular display. It's the biggest circular OLED display in a car, and they've done a good job. It's nice and sharp, it's nice and bright, it's very responsive to touch. OS 9, which is the operating system running on this car, does take a bit of getting used to. It's a little bit, well, you need to sit down and play with it a bit because there's so much stuff you can do. Just scrolling through the menu shows you how much stuff you can do with this car. So there's the Mini ID, which logs you into the car. There's the personal assistant, which is this little guy called Spike, which was introduced last year at a motor show, and the Mini Countryman is one of the first cars to get this little guy. There's Air Console games, which you can use to play games via your phone if you're parked, obviously, and you need to fill your time with something. There's also Amazon Alexa integration and Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, but it's worth bearing in mind with those two options, because this is a circular display, you get this kind of windowed version of Android Auto and CarPlay, which is okay, but if you're used to a much wider display, that might be a bit jarring to begin with. I got used to it. There's the parking assistance, which is really useful, where you get a top-down view of your car as you're parking, along with the rear camera and the front camera. And if you're wondering, the navigation system is fantastic. It's very easy to follow. It makes very good use of that big circular display, and I love the AR feature because it gives you this overlay of the route on the cameras that are picking up the road in front of you, and again, it's just very easy to follow. In fact, there's so much stuff on this system that I can't fit it into this video. It's mind-blowing how much stuff you can do with it. A lot of it, I think, is a bit gimmicky, and it's the sort of stuff that you'll play with either when you're parked up or when you first get the car. The other thing you get is a heads-up display. That obviously gives you your speed, but also it tells you about the assisted driving. It's got adaptive cruise control built into it, so if the car in front slows down or brakes suddenly, this car does the same thing. It slows down without you having to do anything at all, but it also keeps you in the lane. And that means the steering wheel moves and keeps you resolutely in the right place. Now, this isn't fully automated driving, but technically you can take your hands off the steering wheel. And BMW refers to this. They say, for the first time, drivers in the Mini Countryman can take their hands off the steering wheel on highway-like routes at speeds of up to 37 miles per hour, provided they continue to keep a close eye on traffic and remain ready to intervene at any time. As for the rest of the interior, the Harman Kardon stereo, which is a standard feature, is very nice. As mentioned earlier, the seats are very eco-friendly. They're leatherette. They do have some kind of fabric material up here, along with all the JCW stuff. They're very comfy. The rear passenger space is really, really good. Lots of height, as you'd imagine, and in my case, lots of space for extra camping stuff. There's also 2 cup holders, a wireless charging station for your phone, and four USB-C ports, 2 here and 2 in the rear. There's loads of surfaces to put things on, and you do have a fairly sizable glove compartment for all of your gloves. The only thing we don't have is a center console hideaway, but we do have this, which is a very, again, cute little thing that you can put action cams and normal stuff in. As for the boot, I'll put the exact size down below, but it's not a bad size. I've managed to fit loads and loads of camera and camping gear in here, and the rear seats go down as well, so you shouldn't have a problem. And then we have the experiences switch, which gets its own switch on the dash. This basically changes the lighting in here, but also mainly the display. That great big OLED display changes based on the experience that you choose. So we get trail, balance, your own personal one, timeless, which kind of takes it back to the minis of the olden days, vivid, green, which is if you want to save some money on your petrol, core, and my personal favourite, go-kart. And we all know what that's based on. When it comes to performance and actually driving this thing, it doesn't feel as big as it looks, but equally it doesn't feel as small and nimble as a regular Mini. But that's fine, that's kind of what you expect. This is still a lot of fun to drive. The engine in this JCW version is quick when it needs to be, but it's also efficient. You can get some decent miles to the gallon, particularly if you put it into that green mode, whichever experience that one was. When it comes to driving around town, it's easy. It's such a nice car to drive about. Oh, police. They weren't after me, don't worry. But it is a very easy car to drive. I've done loads of miles in this, loads of motorway miles, loads of roads through towns like this. The automatic gearbox is nice and smooth. It does rev quite highly at times, which isn't always my preferred thing when I'm going around corners and that sort of stuff, but that's quite rare that it does that. And again, it's a fun car. It wants to move. In terms of how fast this JCW version is, it feels progressively quick rather than throw you in the back of your seat quick. But again, that's what you expect from what is basically an SUV. And it does make some nice noises. There's a kind of whistle that comes from, I think, the wastegate on the turbo. This JCW version also has I think it's flaps on the exhaust, which open and close when you let off the accelerator, and it makes this kind of popping noise. It's really cool. It is worth noting, however, that not all of the engine sounds are real. Like so many cars these days, they're assisted a little bit. So when you start the engine, it sounds really beefy. Some of that is coming from the sound system. So performance-wise, from a petrol head, I really like this car. I think I'll end this review on a decision, and that decision is, would I buy this? Because I have a BMW M2 which needs replacing quite soon. Now, the Mini Countryman wasn't in my list, but I think it might be now. The performance is fun, the interior is fun, the tech is really impressive and fun, and I've only covered about a fifth of it. The looks are fun as well, but they also mean business. I even think the price is hard to beat, particularly in this JCW outfit. Put it this way, if you can't afford a Defender, and most of us can't, even though there's loads of them on the road, and this really catches people's eyes. The number of people who have commented on this since I've been down here in the New Forest is unbelievable. Anyway, let me know what you think about the Mini Countryman down below. This has been a very different video. If you've enjoyed it, give me a little thumbs up. It helps the channel massively. And if you haven't subscribed yet, you know where that button is. And if you want another car review, keep watching.